together is the Supreme Being. Totality of all souls is called God or Ishvara. Got to Swamiji's definition. The creation or manifestation of the Jiva from the Supreme Self, as stated in the Vedanta, either the creation or manifestation of the Akasha in little form. Just a limitation, apparent limitation, that either enclosed in a jar from the Mahakasha, undifferentiated, from which this is born. When you make a pot, suddenly you develop a little Akasha. From this Akasha, this is born. There is no birth or necessity, only a limited. Unlimited appears to be limited. That is to say, creation or manifestation is not real. As from that Akasha are produced such physical objects as the pot, etc. Similarly, from the Supreme Self, which is like the Akasha, are produced the entire aggregate of material entities, such as the earth, as well as individual bodies, all characterized by causality. The entire production being nothing but mere imagination, like that of a snake in the rope. That is it. Therefore it is said, the aggregates of the gross bodies are produced like the pot. When the Shruti, with a view to enlightenment of the ignorant, speaks of the creation or manifestation of the jivas from the Atman, then such manifestation, being admitted as a fact, is explained with the help of the illustration of the creation of the pot from the Akasha. Yes. A spark coming from a fire. An example is given. Jiva is like a spark from a fire. Both are fire only. That is fire, this is fire. This is limited, that is unlimited. That's all. Akasha does not really create the Akasha in the pot. Is it? Language is like that. Human language has to use such things. The pot cannot be produced without space. Suppose there is no space in the pot, it is not useful at all. Isn't it? If there is no space in the house, it is not useful at all. Chinese philosophers will say, the emptiness in the house is the importance of the house. So emptiness is very important. Emptiness is space.
Why there's some parts of the ultimate have limitations, seeming limitations placed upon?
Yeah.
Why?
Limitations appear to be there. Ignorance creates limitation. A knowing man will never say that this pot is borrowed from that pot. Ignorant people say. Knowing man will not say. Space appears to be limited by this particular partition. That's all. That's why when you have a house here, the other man has another house, compound wall, but the birds never recognize these limitations. And the bee particularly, they come to your compound and steal your honey from the flower. They don't recognize all these limitations. My property, your property. As on the destruction of the pot, now comes the next. Here is a pot. Here is a pot. And so much of Akasha is enclosed in it. It is born from that Akasha, you say. Now let us see. As you destroy the pot, these are enclosed in the pot. What happens to it? Merges in the Akasha. It was part of it. It is part of it even now. Similarly, the jivas merge in Brahman. The same thing. Neither creation nor destruction is in itself real from the standpoint of the absolute. As any portion of Akasha enclosed in a pot being soiled by dust and smoke. Now another example. In India we use this example of wine. Put wine in a pot, that pot becomes dirty. We call it dirty. Any pot in which wine is put considered to be dirty. Okay? Now, pot is dirty, but the space in the pot is never dirty. Isn't it? That's the idea.
over here we first want to know why we are ignorant. Now that question how was ignorance created?
Why we are ignorant. That's right. The very fact that we are seeking knowledge shows that we are ignorant. Those who do not seek knowledge, they are always wise. The ignorant is wise, you know.
We've come out of that absolute. So why seems we've forgotten?
We have forgotten and therefore we are in search of it now. That's all in ignorance, all this goes on.
Swami, is that all that I said that
Suppose you knew the mind. Will you be running about in dream when you know the whole thing is mind? You don't know the whole thing is mind. Therefore you have got so many activities in the dream. When you know the whole thing is mind, none of these will exist there, a separate thing. Causality in dream is an illusion. Because the mind alone is. There's no elephant jumping at you. You see? My heart is beating because the elephant is running behind me. All that is mere mind only. He will dream all these things. Whatever experience there, he will have there. The dream will continue. It's a physical experience, you know. Everybody has passed through these various states. As in the waking. If he has no waking, he has no dream. You see? But delusion is not. Delusion is not. For him, waking and dream are the same.
You'll be aware that
No, in the dream he will be just dreaming. But at the back of it is total knowledge of the Atman is always there.
you'll know
It's just like eating food. He eats rice, he eats chapati or bread. He won't eat the table or chair because it's a separate thing for him. Because he is looking at it from the physical point of view. So worldly experiences continues at the worldly level without a delusion involved in it. That's all.
Well, how did delusion and ignorance begin?
You ask the question in dream, when did this dream begin? You will never get the answer. It is beginningless. To the dreamer, dream is beginningless experience. When you wake up only, you realize at the beginning. You see?
Swami, that which I
You
said
see, within ignorance, there is no beginning. It is called beginningless ignorance. Anadi Maya. Yet use that verse in the first book. When the jiva, asleep from the beginning of time, wakes up from that sleep, then he realized that he was ever the same. He was never like this. Not at this time I am free. Even then you are free. But you are awake, asleep in that sleep. That's all. Beginningless ignorance. But endful. Ignorance may be beginningless, but you can put an end as soon as knowledge comes. A room is dark from beginning of time. Light a matchstick, immediately the darkness ends. Knowledge destroys darkness immediately.
But that...
Yes, go on.
No, I just thought, this was what that thing that I read the other day was all about, because the purpose of the whole thing was to allow God to know himself, and without Shakti, there'd be nothing to be pulled up for God to know himself.
That is another way of explaining this subject. You see that? When you bring in concept of Shakti and all that, it's another way of explaining. This is one way. This is all unreal. We go to the real, then look back to the unreal, everything is Brahman, that knowledge. In the Shakti idea comes Brahman, and the whole of this duality which you see is the play of Shakti, which is also Brahman. Unification of the universe in Shakti, manifested universe.
See, it used to annoy me every so often when, I kept on thinking, or people would say, oh, it's just God's play, because that's all very well when people are really suffering, when there's been a horrible accident and they're all in agony. You can't look at it as a human being and say,
no, it is not.
God's play.
This philosophy doesn't ask you to do
No.
so. Since, for example, you have realized Brahman. You eat when you are hungry. Why don't you have the feeling for others also the same? So at that level, you are just a human being with human attitudes. People respond to the suffering of people, you serve them. You see that? But when you feel hungry, you want food. Why not have the same with others?
But my point also is that there's a higher purpose than just God's play. I don't think that's any much of an answer to say
It is a play, and my going to serve that person to remove that suffering also is a play of the Lord. It will not be half play,
I think
full
that
play.
is service.
Full play. My working for the good of others is also the play of the Lord.
Yeah, it's play because you
Take the thing in its totality, then it looks all right. Take the thing half, then it doesn't look well. It is like a man who said, the right hand, the deity controlling it is Indra. That is belief. So one Brahmin killed a cow. They came to punish him. He said, why do you punish me? I did not do it. Indra did it because he is in charge of this hand. So that fellow was given punishment. He said, if Indra has done it, you take now this punishment. Then when it comes to punishment, he wants to pass it on to Indra. But when it comes to anything present, he says, I will take it now. It is mine. Never do so. Be consistent. You see that? For good and evil, you must take everything, either God or you. Good is yours, bad is God. That should not be. That's human temptation. That should not be. Consistency. Everything is play of the Lord. True. When suffering comes to you, you must say, this is also a play. Then there is no harm. But when others get it, it is a play. When I get it, it is serious. I go to the doctor. That should not be. Be consistent. That is it. Any portion of Akasha enclosed in a pot, being soiled by dust and smoke, etc. All such other portions of Akasha enclosed in other pots are not soiled. This pot Akasha is soiled. This Jiva is in suffering. Along with that Jiva need not be. That is explained. That if a pot is soiled here, this Akasha in the other pot is not soiled. And yet, really speaking, no Akasha is ever spoiled. That's also. So is the happiness of the Jivas. Happiness, misery, etc. of one Jiva do not affect other Jivas. That's it. Limitation. Now you have your tea now.
That's not really true though, is it? Because often when somebody sees somebody suffering, it does affect them.
No, that is affects only by sharing. By sharing. That's all.
But don't Jivas developed enough to share?
See, in one house somebody is dead and they're weeping. The other house nobody is dead and weeping.
Oh,
in that sense. The pot has Akasha. There is dirt in it. The other pot has Akasha. This dust doesn't affect that Akasha in that pot. You see? That's why these diverse experiences are explained from that point of view. Limitation. See on page 145, one note there. The opponent contends that the origin of memory is to be found in the contact of the mind with Atman. But this argument is not valid, because Atman is ever present. In that case, the mere effort of the mind to remember anything should bring its memory. But this does not happen. In spite of all our efforts, we often fail to bring back the memory of many past events. Further, Atman is indivisible without parts. Any impression that arises in the Atman cannot be confined to any particular part of the Atman. If such be the case, then all beings should remember a thing at the same time. Still, another difficulty of this theory is that Atman being without parts, what should remember all things at one and the same time? Hence, no rule exists regarding memory, this kind of thing. So next, form, function, name. Three beautiful ideas are there. Rupa, Karya, Samakhya. Verse 6. Though form, function, and name are different here and there, yet this does not imply any difference in the Akasha, which is one and the same. Same is the conclusion with regard to the Jivas. Form, function, and name. See. So the Shankara says that objection. If Atman be one, then how is it possible to justify the variety of experiences pointing to the multiplicity of Atman. So many different experiences are there. How can you say Atman is one? This is thus explained. In our common experience with regard to the Akasha, we find varieties of forms such as large, small, in respect to the Akasha enclosed in a pot, in a water bowl, in a cover, etc. There are various functions of the same Akasha, such as fetching water, preserving water, and sleeping. Lastly, there are various names, as the ether enclosed in a jar, ghata, ether enclosed in a water bowl, karaga, caused by different upadhi, means limiting agents. All these different forms, functions, and names are matters of common experiences. This variety of experience caused by different forms is not true from the standpoint of the ultimate reality of the Atman or in the Akasha. In reality, Akasha never admits of any variety. Our empirical activities based upon the difference in Akasha are not possible without the instrumentality of an adventitious upadhi. Upadhi is that which limits the thing. Jivas, which may be compared to the Akasha enclosed in a jar, are regarded as different. This difference being caused by the upadhi, body-mind complex, is called upadhi. This is the conclusion of the wise. Difference is not in consciousness, but in the medium which expresses the consciousness. Just like the bulb, electricity is the same. You put different bulbs, you get different lights. Doesn't make a difference to electricity. The medium through which it expresses makes the difference. That's exactly the meaning. Same electricity used in different ways. Different ways of use. In fact, electronic age, how many things we do with electricity? All are different, but electricity is just one. So, upadhis are different. This is the strong point of Vedanta, which Schrodinger likes it. Consciousness is one of which plural is unknown. You see that? Very definite. Upadhis make differences. If you find different bits of consciousness, it is due to the Indian Maya splitting up into many, he says. The word Maya is used as there. One appears as many. As the Ghatakasha, these are all common expressions in Vedanta. Ghata means a pot. Akasha enclosed in a pot. Okay? There are three types of Akasha. Ghata Akasha. Akasha enclosed in a pot. Mahakasha, the infinite expanse of Akasha outside. And Chidakasha, Akasha of pure consciousness. These are physical realities, that is non-physical. Ghatakasha, Mahakasha, Chittakasha. That is the third. The space in mind. Mind also has a sense of space, like in dream, isn't it? A sense of space in mind also. That is Chittakasha. And finally, Chidakasha, of pure consciousness. Infinite expanse of pure consciousness. That is the last. So from Akasha, limited to unlimited, you go in understanding. So also this Atman. As the Ghatakasha is neither evolved effect nor part of the Akasha. Do you say it is evolved or is it part? Akasha has no part at all. So is the Jiva neither the effect nor part of the Atman. Now, Shankaras, our experience of the variety of forms, functions, etc., associated with the ether enclosed in the pot is true from the standpoint of the ultimate reality and not illusory as you say. Then the answer, no, this cannot be so. The ether enclosed in the pot cannot be the evolved effect of the real ether in the same way as the ornament or the effect of gold or the foam, bubble, moisture or the effect of water. Nor again is the Ghatakasha similar to branches and other parts of a tree. Just a part, you can say. This Akasha, part of it is here. Akasha has no part, it is impartible. What makes it appear to be parted? That part form. That's all. Break that part form, all goes. What was one becomes once again. As Ghatakasha is neither a part nor an evolved effect of the Akasha, so also the Jiva is neither, he says, as in the illustration given above, an effect nor part of the Atman, ultimate reality. which may be compared to the Mahakasha, the undifferentiated space outside. Therefore, the relative experience based upon the multiplicity of the Atman is an illusion from the standpoint of the ultimate reality. Point of reality, it is an illusion. But normal life, we have it in our waking, just like in dream state, everything is okay. We are running, jumping, eating, everything. But from the ultimate point of view, there is no such experience called dream separate from the dreamer. It is all the dreamer only. The Atman is everything is the conclusion. I am sure Schrodinger has read this book. Because many people read this book because we discuss causality here, and they are very interested in that from Eddington onwards. As the ether appears to the ignorant children to be soiled by dirt, similarly the Atman also is regarded by the ignorant as soiled, as sinful, as impure, etc. Children will say the sky is murky, isn't it? Sky is murky. Sky is never murky. Remember that? Sky is murky. Really, sky is not murky. So that's how this Atman is murky, Atman is sinful, is impure. Absolutely false it is. This is. To those who know, he says in the commentary of Shankara towards the end, Akasha either, which to those who know the real nature of a thing by discrimination is never soiled by any contamination. So discriminating mind will say, Akasha is never dirty, never murky. No dirt can touch it. That's it. So also the Supreme Atman, the innermost self directly perceived within, is regarded by those who do not know the real nature of the innermost self as affected by evils of misery, action, result, etc. But this is not the case with those who can discriminate. As in the desert are never found foam, waves, though thirsty creatures falsely attribute these things to it. When you see a mirage, even you can see the foam, you can see waves, everything you can see. Discrimination says it is not there. The Atman is never affected. That's why throughout this Vedantic literature, the purity of the Atman, the true nature of man, is always maintained. Whatever you see as impurity, you must find some other way, never the Atman. Then, number 9. The Atman, in regard to its birth, death, going and coming, that is transmigration, and is existing in different bodies, is not dissimilar to the Akasha in this kind of thing. All these are part of the pot only, not the Akasha. Body has birth, death, not the Atman. That Gita also constantly emphasizes this point. It's continued, developed, that's all. Yes. All aggregates. Now comes a conclusive statement. Body, such as the body, is called aggregate, sankhata. It's a technical term in Buddha's discourses and in Vedanta. All sankhatas, he says, are produced by the illusion of the Atman as in a dream, he says. No rational arguments can be adduced to establish their reality, whether they be equal, superior to one another. The aggregates of body, answering to the parts, etc. in the illustration, are produced like the body, are seen in the dream, conjured up by the magician, by the illusion of the Atman, the avidya, which is his perceiver. That is to say, they do not exist from the standpoint of reality. Yes. On account of the bodies of the gods, on account of the superiority and adorability, cannot be unreal. This is an argument of the ignorant, as all bodies, whether belonging to gods or lower animals, are constituted of 5 elements only. Hence, there is no intrinsic difference between gods and other beings. It is like the various objects seen in a dream, such as gods, birds, men, beasts. They are made of the same thing, mind stuff, They are of the same nature, known to be unreal when the dream vanishes. Similarly, wise man knows all bodies, from Brahma to the blade of grass, to be unreal. Bodies are unreal. They come and go. The supreme Jiva, that is a non-dual Brahman, is the self of the 5 sheaths. 5 sheaths of the Taittiriya Upanishad. Foot sheath, bio sheath, psychic sheath, inner still psychic, the bliss sheath, finally the Atman. These are the 5 sheaths. Panchakosha, which have been explained in the Taittiriya Upanishad, that the supreme Jiva is like the Akasha, has already been described by us in the third verse of this chapter. So many of these. The beautiful statements in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Rasa, etc., the 5 sheaths, such as the physical sheath. Annamaya, says. Annarasamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. 5 sheaths are there, says. And the Atman is not any of these sheaths. It is the sword. The word sheath is used like a sword. You put a sword in a sheath, then another sheath, 5 sheaths, and the sword is inside. Sword sheath looks like the sword. We mistake it to the sword. Actually, it is only a sheath. And finally, the Atman, the sheath, the real self. With our body, 5 skandhas. So in Buddha's first lecture in Benares, he said, these 5 aggregates, skandhas, people take that to be the Atman. Some take the body, some take the prana, some take the... None of this is true. You see that? Negate all this. That much he said. In the end, there is an Atman left. That did not say. So Buddhist believes as non-Atman theory. A separate Jiva in each of us is not there. That Vedanta also accepts. But there is no Atman at all, some Buddhists said, and they got into trouble. They became nihilists. Only sheaths are there, nothing in the sheath. That's the Buddhist one school. Shunyavada, they call it, nihilistic school of Buddhism. They could not stand. And this time I asked Suzuki. He said, yes, this Vedantic idea is correct. One infinite truth is there. But individual selves are not there. That is exactly what Vedanta is saying. Yourself, myself, these are all illusion. This sheath creates all this illusion. But there is no ultimate one infinite Atman. That some Buddhists say. And Suzuki said, we don't accept that. There is one infinite. Otherwise, there is no fun in all this trouble. You become simply a zero in the end. Huh? That is it. That's why I asked Suzuki when he came to Delhi. I arranged a lecture in the ashram. Very nice, venerable old man, and a nice young Japanese lady as a secretary, very bright. And I got a photo coming down from the hall, she in front, and in lower step, higher step he, and I'm there. That photo is there, Suzuki's, Daisa's Suzuki. Similarly, a Sinhalese scholar from Sri Lanka, Malala Shekhare, was a great Buddhist scholar. He also said, this Vedantic way of putting this is the correct way. They accepted this idea. The individual selves are not true, but one infinite self is true. So, Anattavada, theory that there is no Atman, refers only to the Jiva. They are separate Jivas. That's the indication in that famous book, Vedantic Buddhism of the Buddha, by Jennings, a British scholar. Big, thick book.
This is not the same thing as a silence after Om. That will be so.
That is the meaning. That don't speak anything about that Atman. Buddha kept silent. Is it that? He says, don't ask anything further about that. That if you say this, that means affirmation means negation. Atman cannot be affirmed or negated. So keep quiet. So he kept quiet. But others didn't keep quiet. They went on positing all sorts of things. That's how Buddhism came into trouble philosophically. Then Shankaracharya came and said, and what Shankara said is Buddha's Advaita. Buddha was an Advaitin, and Shankara only showed it. This is correct. In that way. In that book, Eternal Values, one lecture, our Bhagavan Buddha and our heritage. There is a thorough exposition of this subject. What's the meaning of Buddha's silence on this subject? What are its consequences? All these things. Vedantic background of Buddha you will find in that lecture. The description of pairs as that of the Akasha, which is in the earth, as also in the stomach. In the Upanishad there is a reference, this one. Akasha in the stomach, Akasha in the earth, Akasha in this, Akasha in that. These are all, Akasha is only one. None of these things can cut it into various bits. Applies equally to the Supreme Brahman, described in the Madhukanda Brahmana of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, as being both in the Adhyatma, corporeal, and celestial Adhideva region. In the words, all this is Supreme Atman, the Brahman, the bright, the immortal person, who is both the celestial Adhideva and the corporeal Adhyatma, who is in the earth as well as in the knower, incorporated in the body. That is the text in the Upanishad. Brahman alone is described in order to indicate the limit at which duality vanishes. Where does this occur? It is replied. It occurs in the Madhu Brahmana chapter, which is one of the chapter dealing with the knowledge of Brahman. It is because therein is described the nectar, immortality, which is known as Madhu. Madhu is the name for honey, nectar, and wine. This is Madhu, the word Madhu in Sanskrit. Vijay's wife is Madhu, isn't it? Madhu, if she is either wine or nectar, or ask her which you want to be. Madhu is honey, Madhu is wine, Madhu is nectar. Madhukanda. As it gives us the highest bliss, Madhu in the sense of highest bliss. This Brahman is like the Akasha, which is said to be the same or identical, though separately indicated as existing in the earth and in the stomach, etc., in that text. He says, this is the text. This earth is honey of all beings, and all beings are honey of this earth. We mutually enjoy each other. We enjoy the earth, earth enjoys us also. When we are dead, we are put into the earth. Then, likewise, this bright immortal person in this earth and that bright immortal person incorporated in the body, both are Madhu. He is indeed the same as that self, that immortal, that Brahman, that all. The purport of the Shruti is the Supreme Brahman alone has been described as existing in all the pairs of the corporeal and the superphysical. As the identity of Jiva and Atman, through their non-dual character, is praised and multiplicity is condemned in the scriptures, therefore, that non-duality alone is rational and correct. Everywhere the scriptures condemn this idea of separateness, non-duality, that is due to ignorance. Always unity, non-duality is praised. The Shastras, that is, the various Upanishads, as well as sages like Vyasa, extol the identity of Jiva and the Supreme Self through the negation of all differences. The conclusion arrived at by reasoning and supported by the scriptures. The experiences of multiplicity, which are natural to the ignorant person and common to all beings, animals, men, all see multiplicity. Our senses reveal only multiplicity. It is mind that reveals unity behind the multiplicity. That's a scientific investigation. The view propounded by those who do not understand the real import of the Shastras, who indulge in futile reasoning, these have been condemned thus. That is a text. But there is certainly nothing corresponding to the dual existence. Fear arises from the consciousness of duality, is a text in the Upanishad. Dvitiya advai bhayam bhavati. When you find a separate person, you are afraid. If you know he is your own, then you are not afraid. Any stranger, that's why every house has got a pinhole to which you just look. Let me see, friend or enemy. It's very interesting. I try to look from outside in, I can't see. From inside out only you can see.
Like we always you can see both ways.
You have also got one? See, this is a beautiful idea. From duality arises fear. Mother and child, there is no duality. One zone. See that? Any outsider, fear. Then you talk, make friends, shake hands, then fear goes again. Even two dogs looking at each other first. Very good. Then slowly, make a little love and then lick each other, everything gone. Same thing. This is a very great utterance, All fear arises from duality, separateness. When we meet foreigners, we are afraid. Until you become known to each other, then all fear goes. Fear arises from duality. Dvitiya dvai bhayam bhavati. From separateness alone, fear arises. When you know you are one, there is no fear. All this verily is the Atman. If he sees the slightest difference in the Atman, then he is overcome with fear. He says. Any slight difference, then fear comes out of it. That's the idea. Etasmin udaramantaram kurute atatasya bhayam bhavati is the Taittiriya. Even the slightest sense of different separateness you create, that itself is a source of fear. That's why in modern times we have developed a human awareness. Formerly, all were separate. Everything, one tribe, another tribe. And there is fear. Always. Now that is gone.
Was India pretty stiff? The Russians and the Americans?
That's how bigger quantities have come now. Small quantities are gone. Even individual Americans and Russians are not at all afraid. In groups only they are afraid. As mass, as a nation. Usually they go on very well. Americans go to Russia, they are very happy with friends and all that. But as groups, what you call these false national entities, they are full of fear, each other. At present they are full of fear of each other. But it was better now. What was iron curtain is bamboo curtain now. That is how they use the word, Within this difference. Old iron curtain, now it is bamboo curtain. Curtain is there still. They are peeping across the curtain. Our Reagan says, I shall give you television program. You come here, I come there. That's a good challenge, no doubt. But these fellows will be busy only to send out the CIA to dig out everything. Other knowers of Brahman, as well as the scriptures, extol identity and condemn multiplicity. That song which Surdas sang, which that girl sang before Vivekananda in the Rajasthan Khetri Palace. Merito avaguna chitta nadharo. Swamiji was asked by Maharaja, come and hear this music. She is a very good singer and we want to entertain you. And she is a dancing girl. Vivekananda said, I am a sannyasin. Why should I hear a song of a dancing girl? So Maharaja pressed him. You see? And finally he came and sat. And she sang. And she sang this particular song of Surdas. Very touching. Don't look upon my evil qualities. Thy name is same-sightedness. One drop of water is in the gutter. Another is the Yamuna. When both join the Ganges, both become holy. Don't look upon my evil qualities. Thy name is same-sightedness. She sang with such passion. Swamiji was deeply moved. I was still now making a distinction that this is a dancing girl, this is a sannyasin. I have never understood Vedanta well. This lady has taught me real Vedanta. You will find Swamiji's life in that film also. That film, you have got a copy here, isn't it? Documentary. Long time we have not shown it. It will get rotten. That Vimal Roy's documentary. Beautiful film. There the second part begins with this. So this is the idea. The false views advanced by logicians, not easy to comprehend, cannot be accepted as fact. Logicians are always dualists. And Shankara goes after these logicians all the time. Because logic means relation. Relation means two. You see, here there is no relation. Atman relating to whom? They can't understand it. So he says in that last year's book, this unity of the Atman is a truth incomprehensible to all logicians. They are like a bull, only lacking in horns and a tail. The language he has used there. That bull of logicians. They can confuse other people. They can't understand the truth. Mostly all logic ends up in dialectics. And dialectics also in lawyers. Lawyers want dialectics. They must prove that white is black, black is white. That's called logic. In a lawyer's court, you find out. This is Socrates' discourse. This is what he describes. What you call this lawyers and the dialectics, they must prove that white is black and black is white. And you believe in it. The separateness there. The separateness of Jiva and Atman, which has been declared in the ritual portion of the Upanishad, what you call the Karmakanda section, dealing with the origin of the universe, is only figurative. It is a figurative way of putting it, because this portion of the Vedas describes only what is to be, not what is. This statement regarding separateness can never have any meaning as truth. Jivatmano prathaktum yat pragutpatte pragirtitam bhavishyat vritya gavanam tan mukhyatvam hi na yujyate. Even the Shruti has already declared the separateness of the Jiva, the Supreme Self, in that part of the Upanishad which describes the creation of the universe. That is ritual kanda, Karmakanda, the Vedas. The objection says that. The text of the Karmakanda referred to here describes the Supreme Purusha who had multiple desires. Now all of you wanted that. Purusha had desires. It's coming here. In such words as desirous of this, desirous of that, etc. He, the highest, supported the heaven and the earth. This being the case, how is it possible, when there is a conflict between the knowledge portion and the ritual portion of the Vedas, to conclude that the unity underlying the meaning of the knowledge portion alone reasonable and accurate? That is the objection. Reply. The separateness of Jiva and Paramatman described in the Karmakanda, anterior to such Upanishadic statements dealing with the creation of the universe, as that from which all these beings emanate, as small sparks come out of fire. The Akasha has evolved from that which is this Atman. It cannot hear. It created heat. It's not real from the absolute standpoint. Creation is not true from the absolute standpoint, he will say. Why is it then? It has only a secondary meaning. Separateness between Jiva and Paramatman implied in these passages is like that between undifferentiated ether and the ether enclosed in a pot. That is the difference. Yes. That the what? Such statements are it. Future. Keeping in view the experience of multiplicity by the ignorant people, Vedas make the statement regarding separateness of Jiva and Brahman. Future. What is the meaning of the future? The idea of past, present and future is formed only in the realm of ignorance. Time, past, present, future is relativity. It's not absolute. When the grain, that is the uncooked rice, is boiled, people say that rice is boiled. Says, this sort of statement is common parlance. Rice is not yet boiled, but boiling is going on, expecting in future it will be boiled after some time. The present tense is used keeping in view a future happening. Says. Similarly, scriptures speak of duality before creation with a view to indicating the future state of knowledge when multiplicity is known to be unreal. The Upanishads accept the empirical view of the world as it appears, explain it by saying that Brahman, who is both material, efficient cause of the world, created the world with all his beings and then entered into it. That's a wonderful way of putting it. He formed a bird, entered into it. He formed a man, entered into it. And he became the self there. That's the language used in the Upanishads. The explanation establishes the unity of Brahman and Jiva, apparent difference being ascribed to ignorance. Import of the Shruti is thus, the non-dual Brahman alone exists. He is birthless, causeless and changeless. If one sees multiplicity, that's also Brahman. Experience of multiplicity in the non-dual Brahman